Hello, Sam, and welcome to the Make Life Rich Movement podcast. Or I should say, welcome back to the Make Life Rich Movement podcast, and Happy New Year.
Thank you. You too, my dear friend. How are you?
Doing so good. We're actually recording this conversation on New Year's, and I think it is so appropriate because Sam is not only a friend of mine, she is a friend to the show, and her episode last year was so well received. Sam is a woman of many talents, but I enjoy most her gigantic magnetic heart that just puts out the best of intentions for all of those around her in her community and creates some really amazing experiences and supportive places for people to be able to express their creativity and really tap into who they are with like-minded individuals. And that paradise is expanding this year, and that's why we are talking today, in addition to discussing how you can bring manifestation into your life. And Sam's personal story with her last 2024's year of manifesting and what it's literally brought to her doorstep now. So, Sam, I'm so excited for this conversation. I feel like we became fast buddies. We're both Tauruses. We like locked immediately after recording our conversation last year, and you are such a magnetic individual that it felt so nice to be able to talk to someone that loves manifesting and has a lot of energy behind it. So, tell us a little bit about when manifesting first started to feel real for you.
Yeah. So I grew up in a Christian household. And so prayer was always like a really big part of my upbringing. And as I've gotten older and kind of gone through some life things myself, my perspective on some of those practices has expanded. And I've just kind of adapted more terminology for it. And I have had a lot of incredible things happen in my life, even when I had a different worldview and understanding. I had incredible things happen and align for me, and I believe it was God, the universe, all of that making all of that happen. I'm huge into synchronicities. I really have seen them happen. Like, I think that's the funny thing with a lot of these topics is they have to make sense for your life. Like, I'm not a big crystals person. Like, I don't sense the healing powers and the powers of them right now yet. But I have other things happening in my life that have totally propelled me into certain places in my world. And it really started, I would say, in high school. I started to see hearts everywhere, like in nature, in the world. And I always took it as like, this is like God showing me his love in this one little moment. I just know that I'm loved, and whatever's happening around me, it wasn't ever like a sign of like, do this. It was just like, you're loved. That kind of continued throughout my life, and I have like albums full of pictures of these hearts now. And then it really kind of started happening big time in college, when I was doing traveling I had an internship in college, and I just like found them online, and I was like, wait, this is like exactly what I want to be doing. They're called Art Feeds. They still exist. They're in Joplin, Missouri. And I saw like literally a blogger have a sweatshirt on that had their logo. I'm like, oh, that's fun. Because it's a handprint with a heart in the middle. And I was like, oh my God, wait a minute. That's like one of my signs. Like, what does this mean? And I went through the whole process of like applying to be an intern, which is like grueling, applying for anything. And I got the position. They called me on my birthday telling me I got it. But it was like looking back at that process, I remember saying to the founder on the phone, she said to me, this isn't meant for everybody. Not everyone's cut out to do this kind of work. And I said, I know, but I am. And I really like pushed it. And she told me after the fact, like that really helped set me apart in this application. So it was in a lot of these like really big life choices and decisions and things aligning in my life that I saw the power of manifesting. And I don't think I had the words for that yet. It was just like my life has these alignments and crazy things happening. And now like 10 years, 15 years later, I can look at it and say like, no, that's exactly what was happening. I was like envisioning myself doing the thing, and it's happened.
Mm-hmm. Wait a minute.
Oh, stop. Look at you turning your shoulder. I'm dead. Good night. Take care, everybody. I'm going to go. Oh, you see what I'm saying? What the heck?
Honestly, and that's a little note that I wrote to myself that's behind me on the wall, and it says, "My frequency is what I frequently see."
Oh, shut the front door. I'm deceased. Yep. Here we go. And this is what I'm talking about. Like, it's stuff that's like out of your control, but in your control. Like, I controlled sharing any of this, and you
Mhm.
controlled how tall you're sitting right now.
Yeah.
What the heck? My gosh. Yep. Yep.
So crazy. And it's literally over my right shoulder. And that's like your handshaking shoulder and like the hand that like connects you to someone else. And
Oh
it's
my
like,
god.
bang, it's right there. I love it.
I can't.
Obsessed. I knew this conversation was going to be great, but we're kicking it right off, y'all.
It's happening.
The Make Life Rich movement is going to be a little bit more kooky and spooky and amazing this year. So buckle up,
Perfect.
buttercups, because we're here.
I'm here for it.
I would love for you to talk a little bit about Propagate and bringing that to life. That was the main basis of our conversation last time. And I'll put that episode in the show notes so you guys can catch up with all of that afterwards. But I know a ton of manifesting went into bringing not only the business to life, but the particular space you ended up in that is perfection.
Yeah.
It all coalesced in the best way.
Yeah. So I went to art school, graduated with a BA in fine art, graduated in 2015, worked multiple different kinds of jobs creatively, always insisted I do creative work, not get like a job. I did have an office for 6 months, but that job didn't last terribly long. And I, in 2016, bought my bus Flo, who's parked behind me. I'm in the studio right now. Flo is parked inside the space. And that is where this all came from, because I always wanted a bus. This is like the abridged version. Always wanted a bus. My family had one when I was in college, burned down tragically. I wanted my own, felt that fire in my belly for the first time of like, no, I have to do this. No matter whose money I'm using or what's happening, like I have to make this happen. Flo came into my life in 2016 on my birthday. I've had many things happen. Let me go over the quick list. Got my internship for Art Feeds on my birthday. Graduated college on my birthday. And Flo came into my life on my birthday. And those three things like have continuously changed my life ever since. And so Flo broke down in 2021. And I've been doing repairs on it all this time, doing mobile events, doing creative work with her. She was my mobile art studio. But I always had envisioned, literally just picturing in my mind, like, I have a big barn or warehouse and she pulls inside and I can do stuff around her. And like, I still have like the original picture in my mind of like what that looked like. And at the time I was like, ooh, maybe I'll live there. Like that would be so freaking cool. Cause I was living at home still and just, just dreaming. And I was always a kid that was creative in my mind. Like I always was imagining things. I had a vivid imagination. I was always doodling and drawing and literally just like playing with my drawings. Like I would draw like die cuts of a house and like have all the rooms and I'd arrange them and play in my mind in that way. So like I had a vivid imagination. So just thought of this space, and obviously when the bus broke down, there was like no way I was like thinking I would start another business. But what was funny was previously in that year, I went to my first medium ever. And he's like well trusted, well known in the area. My cousin's been to him before, and he had a lot to say. All my guides were coming through and like chatting with me and coming through to him. And he said, now this is, remind you, the bus is still running at this point. Things are going hunky dory. And he goes, I don't know, I'm seeing like a barn or a warehouse. And I was like, you shut the fuck up. I say that. And he was like, okay. Like, he was like unfazed because it means nothing to him. And I was like, well, that's like what I've always dreamed of having. And he was like, well, why are you afraid of success? And I was like, I don't think I am. I just like felt very like assaulted. I was like,
The Taurus wound. He like
I
called it
know,
out.
I know,
Bastard.
I know. And I was like, I don't think I am. But like, what is that? What do you mean? And he was like, I don't know, but like, you better start asking and like asking for what you want. Cause like, it's going to happen. You just have to try. And I was like, okay. So then that was in like June, and the bus broke down in September. And I was just driving through the area looking for a place to just store it, to make money to replace the engine someday, not even anytime soon. And this building is on my main route between my house and my mom's house. Passed it 100 million times. It used to be a motorcycle repair shop. And it had a for rent sign out on the front building, on the stone house that my landlord also owns. Foreshadowing. And then double foreshadowing, actually.
Double.
So I called him and I came to see it, and it was just like perfect. It was exactly what I wanted. But it really took a lot of it. Like, it wasn't just like bing, bang, boom, here's money. Like, I was like, I have no money to do this. I can't make this happen. I don't know what I'm going to do. But like, I envisioned it so much. And like, when when you want something so bad, like it hurts your stomach, and you just like
Yes.
feel like you're 5 years old all of a sudden, and you can't get that freaking Barbie at the store.
Yes.
Like, that gut wrenching, I need this to happen moment
Yes.
was happening, but there was like really nothing I thought I could do.
Yeah.
So we waited, and I just kind of, heard the number of what he wanted rent wise, and I said, okay, well, nice to meet you. I'll never see you again. And he called me a month later and kind of offered me this deal. And I asked for help from my family, and specifically from my mom, and she's why we made it happen. And so it's really, I have like so many points of like able to put together a thought about like the method of manifesting, because everyone's life is different and process is different. And it's not just like throwing wish paper in a fire and like hoping it's going to happen. Like, that's part of it. Doing rituals and making it a sacred experience for yourself is super meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm a huge advocate for asking for help and just verbalizing what your needs are. And that's like a mega part of manifesting. It's not just sitting and waiting for it to show up at your door. You actually have to
Action.
try.
Yeah. The action. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how we got into this main space.
Obsessed. We'll pin it there for a second because there's a lot to cover, and I want to trickle back for a second because I think what you said about your stomach hurting and like also your Christian background that allowed you to really just piggyback and jump immediately into manifesting and understanding it. There was something there that clicked for me, and it was that you already had the understanding of belief and
Mm-hmm.
faith, and now you were able to apply it to yourself and to
Yeah,
what you wanted.
totally.
And it's so funny. I'm in a place right now over the last like 4 months. I did not grow up in a religious household. I've always thought about a universe being the controller rather than like God or Jesus or any kind of like a
Yeah.
semblance of an organized religion. And I find myself wanting to learn more for the aspect of faith and belief and being able to
Mm-hmm.
apply it to myself. And I
Mm-hmm.
think there is something to be said about getting a deep understanding of what faith and belief is when you're very young because it makes it easy to apply to all kinds of things. And it absolutely for you applied to you just believing wholeheartedly in yourself and every single thing that you want to do, you achieve, which I love so much about you. But I wonder if you could give a tiny bit of advice or maybe talk a little bit about what it feels like for you when you are actively believing in yourself while also doing the tasks of going to look for the space,
Yeah.
asking your mom for the rent, having the business plan ready. Like,
Yeah.
because it really, belief is the missing component to success.
Hmm.
And it doesn't have to be in a creator, but it certainly has to be within yourself.
Totally.
And you absolutely, your confidence shines through in everything you do. And I would love to hear what it feels like for you when you are doing these
Mm.
things and they're all coming together.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. That gives me so much to think about. I think because I've been mess thinking a lot about my upbringing and how it can still support who I am today. And I don't think I've ever thought about it that way before. And that's huge. Like, yeah, that's a major part that is a good thing that it has taught me. Um, I think a major thing that has contributed to my life, which I know is not everyone's case, is also that I was believed in as a child. I had support from my family from a very young age. And I know that that is, there's stories of confidence doesn't have to come from that though. Like even people who don't have that kind of support muster it up and find it within themselves or in their community, or they find it and then they can do something fabulous with it. I don't think you have to have had a very supportive family to do amazing things. You can do it no matter who you are. I'm just insanely blessed to have had that part of my story. And I have a lot of creative people in my family. And, my mom specifically has always been like, that's a cool idea. Let's figure out how to make it happen. And so sometimes there's, a little bit of doubt or hesitation from other parts of my family. But I think because my mom specifically is like my life giver and like person who instilled so much of my consciousness in me, like that support and like immediate, yeah, okay, like the yes and of it all has come from her, and that's where that has stemmed from, I think. But the feeling in myself, I was thinking about it in preparing my mind for our conversation about all this. It's really even in the simple thoughts of things, like I said, picturing myself in a space. That takes like 5 seconds to do. Like, you don't have to sit down and do a whole doodle and a drawing and a plan and a 12 hours of dreaming about it. It can just be little nuggets of like, ooh, what if that happened? And that's where it builds up. Because I think your brain energy, literally the physicality of the like the physiological energy moving within your brain and the synapses firing, like all of that stuff, like scientifically adds to the energy of your body, of your aura, of the space you occupy, of what's going to be attracted to you. It's all a magnetic force, like you said. And so having the moments of, no, what if this could happen now? I don't know how it's going to happen, but just letting yourself be like, I don't know, let's just try. What happened if I let my brain go down that path for a minute? I'm just thinking about it. I'm not doing anything about it. So when you get comfortable with your thoughts of a thing, that's then where you can be like, okay, maybe I'll start a Pinterest board. Maybe I'll start envisioning some things in a physical way. And then that can build to maybe I will feel brave enough to talk about it. And that's where I have a lot of conversations with people about their superstition, about their are just cultural like thought on sharing an idea is going to jinx it. Like that whole nonsense is stifling so many dreamers and people's ideas, which is fucking bullshit. Because that's what, like, if you want to say it, the devil, if you want to say society, if you want to say the patriarchy, all of the above, that's what they want you to do, is not talk about it and not dream about it because they just want you to work for them. And I am like such a huge advocate for saying the thing that's going to happen. Even if you like don't adapt the affirmation wording, which sometimes can feel weird. Like, I already have this, like I am this, I have this. Sometimes that can feel weird to people. I think the planning verbiage is fine. Like, so yeah, someday I'm going to have this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like that someday could be tomorrow. So it's okay to use that phrasing. I think
Mm-hmm.
people can get comfortable in saying someday and it just like never happens. But that's
Mm-hmm.
then the next action of, well, what are you actively doing about it? What steps can you take? And kind of reverse engineering the thing um, can actually make you take the responsibility to make it happen. Because
Mm-hmm.
I think, and if you don't know the answer, freaking Google, ChatGPT, resources
Yeah,
are out there to help you answer some of these questions
for
to
real.
then decide if you move forward. But that's where people get stuck, I think. And that's where they get afraid for themselves. Because what if it
Mm-hmm.
works out? Um, I talked to a woman here at the studio this week, and um, she was like, I just like, yeah, everything you're saying, this, you're manifesting things, you have this vision. You know, I just always get stuck in the like, well, what if it doesn't work out? And I said, okay, tell me that. What, answer that question. What would not happen? What's going to happen? Or like for them, it was like a conversation. They were just like looking about, they were having a conversation with someone about asking permission to use a space or to do a thing. I forget the exact details, but I was like, so what happens? Well, what if he says no? I'm like, okay, then what? Then you try again, or you find someone else. Like people get so stuck on themselves of like that letdown of like then their idea isn't good enough.
Yes.
And holy shit, like everyone knows the story of Einstein, of how it's and Edison and all of these people that it took a million times for them to get anywhere with their genius ideas. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I think of myself like this space. I had the thrift as like a very small area in the studio when I first opened, and no one freaking bought anything ever. Like we sold a few things now and then. It wasn't a big deal. People didn't really. I had someone actually be like, "Who's gonna buy this?"
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Cool, cool, cool. All right, this is fine. I can. We'll get through this." Um, and now look what's happened just by shifting things. So I think that there's just you have to have a even if it's fake, even if it's pretend confidence in yourself, like fake it till you make it in your own mind. Like start getting comfortable with your thoughts and caring about
Mm-hmm.
them because you're the one that's going to make it happen. That's it. Only you until others want to join you. But it's up to you.
Yes. That's so beautiful and such a wonderful answer because I think you very succinctly brought to a head the fact that the words that you speak to yourself and the words that you think about your actions really matter. I know when I started kind of on like my spiritual journey in 2010, I just started by using less negative words
Mm-hmm.
and trying to use more encouraging words.
Yeah.
So, like, oh, I can't.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, well, then, even just giving myself, well, I don't think I can. And then from there, I was like, no, I'm going to give it a try,
Yeah.
but I'm nervous I'm not going to be able to do it. Like, it was
Mm-hmm.
just giving myself the grace to keep evolving and
Yeah.
allowing a certain feeling to take place and feel comfortable and then just keep upping the ante. And I do love that you immerse yourself in feeling it. You need to feel what it is that you want because where you're currently at may not be very close in energy or vibration to the thing that you're looking for. And the only way to get there is to by continually keep vibing forward. Like
Yeah.
you have to keep working towards the goal. And a great way to do that when you are manifesting and even just really giving yourself the permission to even have these thoughts and dreams is just to think about what it would feel like if it were true.
Yeah.
And for those big moments where you're like, well, what if it won't work? Okay, well, how about for a second, because you're actively feeling in your body that it's not going to work? Why don't we close our eyes for a second and just see the highlight reel of it working? And then what
Mm-hmm.
does that feel like? Because I
Yeah.
think until you can get into the play mode of it,
Mm-hmm.
manifestation can feel really silly and it can
Yeah.
feel really purposeless.
Mm-hmm.
But in reality, I think, especially for those that don't believe in the woo, this can help you believe in the power of your brain
Yeah.
and the power of your mind and the power of your actions.
Yep.
And it's a great tool to be able to use to help yourself just keep upping your standards
Mm-hmm.
and the actions that are required for that standard to remain a standard. and then that becomes your way of life, and you keep
Yep.
up in the ante, which, like you said, with the pivots, like growth is just pivots and figuring out which direction you're going next. It may not always be up, it might be to the left or the right or down, but either way, it's movement. And if you allow it to be a tool for you for growth, it's likely been put in that place to take you to the right path you wouldn't have gotten to if it were a little less bumpy.
Right. That's a huge thing
I
I've
would,
been thinking about this week in kind of where we are with our next chapter. And I have been thinking to myself and sharing with others, like, having the major plan is like all you're responsible for at one time. Having that major vision. And then you're responsible to get granular with it, and actually ask for what you want and ask what you need. But that isn't always going to show up in the way you expect it to. No matter how hard you work for it, which I have had a hard time with as someone who believes in my own abilities and my own, hard work and needing Y, doing X to get Y, and like wanting that linear path. It's not always going to be that. But then that's where the stories come from. Then when it's not all on you, then when it's like, I needed this, I tried my best and it still came up short, but then like my community members came in or friends came in or someone unexpected helped me make this happen. That is fully part of the definition of manifesting. Like your energy and excitement attracted them to want to help you. And a story I have for that is in college, I was going to Niger, West Africa, on a trip that I decided I had to go on between my fall and spring semester of my senior year. And I was bringing art supplies to this group that I'm friends with that was doing mission work at the time out there. And I had to raise all of my own funds to travel there. And the ticket was like $1,500, this airfare. Like it was a lot of money. And I was like campaigning and fundraising and like doing my crowdsourcing thing, which I'm like very used to doing in my life, being raised in Christian schools that are nonprofits and having to do that every year and selling wrapping paper, all that jazz. So I know how to do that and love doing it because it connects me with people. And in that experience, literally this one day I was in a studio class of mine expressing to my classmates, like, oh, I'm really stressed out because the ticket I want for this flight, this trip, whatever, there's like 3 left and my funds from my GoFundMe won't be in my bank account until this weekend. And like, it's going to be sold out by then. And one of my classmates who was like a new friend just from this class was like, oh, put it on my card and just pay me back when you get it. And I was like, what do you mean? You're as broke as I am. And she's like, I'm actually not, but that's why I'm here to help you. And like, let's make this happen. You'll just pay me back. It's not a big deal. And that was more than like most of my family did for me because they were all so afraid for me that their support was caught up in their fear and like only in praying for my safety instead of financially supporting my ideas. And so my peers were the ones that like, I would come to my station in the studio and there'd be like $20 under my water bottle with like a little note, or like, someone would like volunteer to like help me do whatever I was doing at the time. Like everyone just came together. And it wasn't because I was even specifically asking for that though, because I was like embarrassed to ask my own classmates for help. But they did it anyways because they were like, no, we want you to succeed and we want to make this happen. And this is fun to be a part of it. And that's a big part for me in asking for help financially, energetically from people through manifesting. It helps others have a purpose too. And sometimes it's easier for someone else to work for someone else's goals and visions than their own, which is why so many people aren't self-employed. And so that's been a huge part for me in getting over the hurdle of like, I'm too afraid to ask for money for this thing, even though I need it. Because some
Yeah.
people, that's the only way they can help you. And they're
Yes.
willing to do that. So why deny them that?
And it brings up the thought of like closed mouths don't get fed. It was
Mm-hmm.
like always something my dad said when I was younger because I always had such big ideas.
Yeah.
He'd be like, "Well, what are you going to do about it? Go ask them.
Yeah. Right.
You want to learn what a lawyer does? Go ask if you can go look at what they're doing." Like
Yeah.
it was always just, "What are you
Yeah.
going to do about it?" Like
Yep.
go ask. You have to go about it. And I really love what you said immediately in you saying it that like by asking someone, you're giving them the ability to help you. It almost feels like, and I apologize for making this so woo woo and divine, but it's like my main point of focus these days. It seems as though, for those you would think to be the people you can rely on the most, in denying the opportunity outside of your circle for others to help you, you may be denying them like the opportunity that the spirit wanted to provide them to give so that they can feel inspired and in
Right.
turn they can maybe do more. Maybe they want to do something
Yeah.
that's going to light them up inside, even if it's something they're doing just for themselves in their home. Like it's never, you
Mm-hmm.
never know what opportunities are out there that are connected beyond yourself, but they may start with you. And I love the thought of that butterfly effect. And
Mm-hmm.
it certainly seems that throughout your career, you have had this really beautiful butterfly effect of support from just sources continually popping up that you did not expect. And I think it's probably time to bring up the beautiful stone property that was at the front of the barn. And we'll bring that foreshadowing back on in here because after our first conversation, we became fast friends. We knew immediately, like, oh, we're manifestation buddies. And you pretty quickly were like, all right, I like what I'm doing here, but I know there's more. And I want to have a space where I can host retreats. And I was like, sick, that's amazing. If you can, please start with that original Christian camp or whatever it was. It was like a Christian camp, right?
Mm-hmm.
YMCA camp?
It was Christian camp. Yeah.
All right, let's start around that time frame and
Yeah.
like the size of that place, what it would have taken, how far away it was from where you're currently at. Like break
Yeah.
down that atmosphere and then
Yeah.
bring it on home.
Oh, you're talking about the space I was looking at. So
Before the previous one.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. So I had my own Christian camp. Like I have grown up at camp, which is why my care for this environment is so prevalent. But the property I looked at, actually the very first one was a golf course.
Oh, I forgot.
Yeah, that was the OG. That was like long standing, made it real in my mind because I went with a realtor to see it. I like, had big conversations with people finally of like, I need investors. What am I going to do? So right. I've had this vision of having a retreat space where it's not just to host retreats and it's like blank canvases, empty cabins. It's like aesthetically exciting and immersive. My boyfriend and I have always dreamed about having an Airbnb property. And then, it's just one of those things when I see, like, there's one in Nashville that's like a bachelorette weekend house and it's like decorated all cute. I'm like, I can do that. Someone just give me a house. That's like one of my main mantras is that I could do that. So yeah, I almost a year ago, it was like end of January, I was like, I really want this to happen. This is, I think, what's next, actually. And it kind of all hit me like a ton of bricks the one day. And like my heart was racing and I was like, wait, we're going to have a retreat center. Wait, that's what's happening. And I like started telling everyone, had literally just a Pinterest board to show for it and like my thoughts and excitement and literally vision. Had a friend share with me a property that she knew that was kind of always up and down, for sale and not in the area. It was a golf course, 140 acres, massive, massive. But that didn't scare me. I was like, no, I can do a lot with that then, actually. That's perfect. The more the merrier. Long story short, that didn't pan out. It broke my heart. Someone else came in and made an offer on it. But the amount of work the space needed was really immense. And I am really struggling in this current time, like reconciling still with like well, when will a big project that needs a lot of work feel right then? Because that felt right, but it didn't work out. But that's not an answer I need right now, because we had another answer happen. So in going through this whole process, heartbreak, looking at other properties, I went and saw what I thought was the answer then, which was a YMCA camp. Oh no, I'm sorry. It was a special needs camp through the ARC or something. There's a couple of them nearby. It was for sale. Hadn't been used since COVID. I was like, found it. Okay, here we go. Finally get in touch with someone from there and they say, oh, it's under contract actually. And I'm like, can you have written that anywhere? Because I just made my whole life's plan with this space. And it was having coffee with a friend like in November, early November, who is one of my like spiritual mentors, dear friend, say to me, like, what if something happened like right where you are though? And it's funny because I had one of those like That's So Raven moments. Did you ever watch that show when we were kids? Yeah.
Yeah.
And she saw like the psychic things like happening. I had like a flashback of like all of the people over the last year. Most of them actually were spiritual people and psychics and mediums that are friends of mine say to me, something about this property is going to happen though. And I just was in such denial because I have a bigger vision. I'm like, no. I need more room. This is like, it's a wonderful space, but like I envision having more. And she was like, what about anything right there? And I said, well, funny thing, our landlord has been renovating this one house on the property all summer. And she like looked at me like, you idiot, what are you waiting for? And I was like, okay, but I know what he wants for it for rent. And it's like too much. There's no way. And she was like, you have to ask him for it. And I was like, oh yeah. Oh yeah, the thing that I like did before and I got what I needed. That's right. I forgot I could do that. And it was just like one of those duh moments of also he was looking at these other bigger properties with me to invest in with me. So he already is on board with like the idea. So I called him and I said, hey, Carl, what's going on with that house? And he was like, I can't rent it. I can't find a renter. And I was like, I think I know why. I think it's for me. And he was like, tell me more. And I told him how I could adjust my big vision into this property and how I don't think it's wrong of me to adjust the vision to fit in there. Whereas sometimes you feel like you're pushing the envelope or pushing the issue of something to fit and it's wrong, because you're just being persistent and it's like, no, this is the wrong thing. And you're forcing it into the shape it's supposed to be. And it's not going to work out. This is kind of the opposite. This was kind of me like expansive, big, like flopping around and then like getting a corset on and being like, oh, actually, zinc, this is what we're doing.
I love that analogy. That makes so much sense. And like, shout out to Carl. Carl just taking a chance on a woman with a big dream and a big heart and a lot of energy. We need more Carls in this
Oh my
world.
God. Truly. And I don't take it for granted. Like to have a conversation with my landlord about our circumstance, our idea. And he's like, yeah, let's make it happen. He handed me the key. I cried immediately. Because the word that I like after all the properties like not working out and really not aligning, I was like, listen to me. I was going to some of these spaces and looking at them and pulling oracle cards in my car for myself, being like, give me an answer. I need something. Like, what am I doing? And like the one day I drove to a campground near here that is literally just a campground. Like people bring their RVs and camp at it. Cause I was like, maybe a campground. I don't know. Let me drive here. And I went and I was like, ooh, this is like not feeling like it's it, but let me pull a card. And I'll never forget. It said one step at a time. And it had this beautiful message about it. And then Jordan Sparks' song came into my mind, one step at a time. And I was like, I put it on and like got full body goosebumps, like sobbing about the words. Queen. Because it was about me. And I was like, okay, Right. It's
Mhm.
okay. So that song, as well as Miley Cyrus, The Climb, got me good that week because I was like, there's always going to be another mountain and I'm always going to want to make it move.
Mhm.
I was so like, ugh. I kept getting messages of like, it's not done yet. It's just not this. And then I was like, okay, it needs to be easy. There has to be an ease to this then, because I know myself. I know I can work hard, but this part is literally out of my control. So there has to be a clicking that is just like done for me. But it was done with me again because I asked. If I had just stayed in my stubborn Taurus little brain and said, no, no. Once again, everyone who has a better sense than me, you're wrong. We wouldn't be here. So we are now, this morning, I paid rent for the first time for our property right across the parking lot from us. It's the stone house that's been gutted and renovated, blank slate. He let us get in there already and start doing our thing in it, and making it gorgeous. I'm partnering with a bunch of creative friends of mine that are sponsoring each room, because I love their aesthetic and I love their vision, and it's helping me make this happen. Um, it's going to have 5 beds in it. We're going to have a commuter ticket as well too. So if you're local and want to come, you still can. Or if you need a whole hotel room for privacy, you can. Because we got a little sleepover vibe happening in this house. Which was another big thing I had to work through. Like my original vision was to have private spaces and, everyone gets their own room or their own bathroom or whatever, because
Mhm.
I had been hearing from people that's what people want on retreats. And I was like reminded by friends, like, oh, I love a sleepover. Like, that's really fun. And I'm like, oh, yeah. And the creative retreats that are out there, actually, a lot of them are in a communal space like this. So I can
Yeah.
exist in this world. And there are people that are going to be my clients and customers and come to this. So why am I going to really pigeonhole myself when I have this opportunity right now? Thank you.
I
Good
love
night. Just kidding.
I love that so much, and honestly, I love that it is an artsy sleepover. I
Yeah.
think that that's, like, the biggest part of it, and the beauty of what you're doing is that it's so unique to what you already have been doing for years, and it really does feel like this is, like, the culmination of it all coming together. I think there's so much more happening there than just an Airbnb. You have the ability for you yourself to have the bus outside, the barn open and cranking, classes going on inside, events taking place outside on your beautiful grassy area because you've got some yard.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the home space. It really just is a full stop shop for creativity in a really beautiful part of New Jersey that needed something like this. And I think there's a lot to be said about filling spaces with your own unique approach because again this was what was put on you to do and you like went through trials to get to this place to where you are and now you're doing the fun stuff like decorating and planning out what is a retreat going to look like that I put together. And we had been discussing before you opening the space to other creators and artists and healers that want to be able to host their own retreats. So on the business side of things, what are you looking to offer to those separate service providers that do want a unique and creative and open, authentic space to be able to operate through for their own events and programs?
Yeah. So we will not be on Airbnb. We are playing on the word of that and calling it an art B&B because it's just clever. Um,
Perfect.
but we won't be booking it as like just 1 or 2 people. Not like it's going to be retreats and experiences booked through the studio or through our guest hosts. Um,
Mhm.
and what my vision is, we're going to host at least one retreat a week, a month, through the studio that have various themes, that are really exploring different facets of being a creative person. I have like a myriad of themes that I'm working through and coming up with. I want to do ones that are like heavy on technique and learning skills and stuff, but then like there being so much time to play. We have one actually planned in February. Our first one that we're like gonna be ready by, we're telling ourselves, is gonna be called Propagate Your Business, and it's for the small business owner to come grow their selves and their business, where there'll be play as well as work. And that's the big thing that I'm going to offer a lot with the things that we're creating is a time and a space to play, as well as really get into the topics we're talking about, because it's not just like a play place. It is going to be a more expensive thing than obviously like a 1-day workshop, because it's an overnight experience. We're providing the amenities. We have some cooks we're working with, but we have someone who we're actually talking with this weekend about doing like a vegan cooking retreat, where like you're learning about how to be plant-based and, involving that in your life. I have someone who, actually same person, she's a medium and a spiritual guide and just an astrologer. She has so much knowledge and like has a whole curriculum like ready to go. Like I have people like waiting with like their programs. I'm like, okay, wait, let me just get the beds in order. But I want people to come, and my prerequisites are that they're passionate about what they're teaching and that they're inclusive to our community and that they're offering a space that is supportive. That's like all I'm asking of people if they want to host something with us. I think that we are creating a visually creative space, but, I hope for there to be like writers' weekends at the space. I hope for there to be musical experiences there. Our vision is that the house will be experiential and the studio will kind of remain, we use the word utilitarian. There might be a different word for that, maybe more traditional workshops. But like we can have our like 6-week crochet class meet at the house if they want to, because it's cozy in there. Like it can be a comfortable environment. Like we're excited to have these planned retreats as well as use the space during the week for other classes to take space. So right now on the other business side of things, we are in the middle of our Kickstarter. I did start a Kickstarter, which was terrifying to do because I've never done one with that platform, and having a deadline and a set goal is, I've never had that before. And I've done crowdsourcing, like I feel like every other year of my life. But because of our exposure this year, because of our massive influx in community, I just was like, I felt in my gut, it's going to be okay. Like, we just got to try it. I have a poster in my house that says, no risk, no magic. And that is what I see every day. And I have to remember and remind myself every day, because, if I just was like a trust fund kid and just was like, I'm buying it here, I've launched this thing, it would take the momentum longer to build up of people caring about what I'm offering. And so 100%. I have to continuously remind myself, like by reminding people about the campaign on Kickstarter, all the tiers we have, it's generating their excitement for us as well too. So we have 11 different tiers. Sounds like a lot, but I like options and colors. So everyone has a different color, literally from $1 to $5,000, and you book the house for the whole weekend and you bring a bunch of friends and we plan your own private experience. We have tiers in between, and we are trying to simultaneously like book for future events through the Kickstarter and get this funds, which is going to go towards us opening, buying the amenities. Outfitting a house is a lot. It has most of what we need, which is great. And my creative team is like sponsoring the rooms, which is offsetting a lot of costs as well. But there's just naturally some things we need brand new, like mattresses. We need some new mattresses in there, and sheets and all of that good stuff, as well as now being the age I am. How old am I? 31. trying to be a thoughtful planner and business person and saying like, okay, and I'm asking for money because it's going to go into our bank account so we have rent, so that we can take an exhale, spend some good time on marketing strategies and attracting the people that are meant to come here.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think if I had just asked for half of what we are asking for, that would cover what we need to buy. But I want to be able to breathe and take our
100%.
time. That's the biggest
100%.
thing with this space is me recognizing what I love about a camp experience, what I loved about studying abroad was being able to take our time on projects and doing things. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what we're doing with the house.
Oh, I love it so much. Everyone, there's going to be links in the show notes for the Kickstarter. Like, just like give up your Starbucks for a day at the least and contribute to this wonderful woman's dream. And while you're at it, check out her website and maybe book a retreat for yourself. Tell us first a little bit about the area.
Yeah,
What is this part of New Jersey like? What
totally.
other things could they go to do and see
Oh
and
my
be?
gosh.
Because you live in a really cool part of New Jersey.
Yeah, so we are in Western New Jersey. We are 10 minutes from the border of PA. We are near Easton, Pennsylvania, in the Lehigh Valley, which is a very hopping area these days, very creative
Mhm.
district over there. We've got the Crayola factory, love it there. Um,
Mhm.
we're down the road from Merrill Creek, which is a reservoir. We're actually kind of positioned between like three different reservoirs and state parks.
Oh, oh,
Lots of nature out here, which was something other people and friends had to remind me of too in like the coming to terms with liking this space. They're like, Sam, I know you want like the woods, but like this is the woods to a lot of people. Like,
yeah.
though we are on a major road, it's like a state highway, it's still in the middle of nowhere. I joke for people that it feels like you're in the middle of Indiana on this stretch of highway, just going between towns, which is like rare in New Jersey. You kind of can, you just are automatically in the next town and you can,
Yeah.
there's lots of trees, which we have, but this stretch we have a lot of farmland. Um, we have so many sweet towns. We're right near Clinton, New Jersey, which is where the Red Mill is, which is the most photographed building in New Jersey. There's just a lot of really quaint Gilmore Girls esque towns around here. A lot of creative spaces. We have a lot of antiques out here as well too. And yeah, honestly, like we have it all. We got it all. And we're also like an hour from the Poconos. Like you could go stay up in the Poconos if you
Mm,
wanted to, or an hour to the
mm,
city. We are about an hour and 20 minutes drive to New York City. So
love it.
there are trains. We're not super near a public transit thing here, but we had folks come take a Greyhound bus to Easton, Pennsylvania, and then get an Uber from there to our space just to come to the thrift this summer. So there's
Perfect.
options.
Tons of options.
Yeah.
And it's really cool too that they have the option to, like, in my brain, I can already see you being sold out for like literally the rest of the summer. Like by February, I see it, I feel it, I know it. But the proximity to New York, I think, is huge.
Yeah.
Connecticut, huge.
Yeah.
So many people are aching for some type of creative retreat where they can just calm the fuck down and just do a little something, feel a little something,
And like
and they're
everyone's going to
perfect
get
for
a
that.
chance to come and shop the thrift when they're here for retreats. Like just imagining having a space where you can, like, the only thing you have to do is shop for 2 hours. That's your assignment. Collect fun things to play with all weekend. And like, that's the kind of environment I want for people to come to. And like, we already have people coming from Philly, like all the time. We have, and this is the other thing too. So, like I said, we have 5 beds in the house, but we do have hotels nearby. The nearest one is about 20 minutes away, but it's a beautiful drive. Great
Mhm,
coffee shops on the way. Um,
mhm.
it's really worth it to stay in the area. If and there's also bed and breakfast, like small town bed and breakfast in the area
Ooh,
too.
love it,
Yeah,
love
so it
it.
doesn't have to be.
The
Yeah.
vibes are high. It sounds like an all-around perfect decision to make, and I think it's just a matter of people clicking the link below and figuring out which retreat or private function they'd like to do. Also, please check out the Kickstarter. If you think you'd like to do a retreat, you could just take your happy self over to the Kickstarter and choose one of those options to support that are going to give you the same sort of access to something really cool and amazing. And you get to contribute to making this space come to life in the full fruition that this amazing creative woman has dreamed of. And trust me, you want her to get every bit of what she's dreaming for here, because it's just going to make the perfect experience for you and your girlfriends and your husband if you go up for a little like creative weekend together. But
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate you.
I just love it so much. And I'm going to be passing the word to so many creators, service providers that I know in Philly specifically, since it's so close, for them to be able to connect with you to put in their own kind of retreats.
Cool.
I know I've asked you before, but I'm going to ask you again. And I'm sure it'll be much different this time because you're like 52 different people since the last time we spoke, but the evolution is strong, girl. Okay, so Sam, how do you make your life rich in this present iteration and timeline we find ourselves in?
It is a different answer than last time. It's by listening to what brings me joy and what I want to do with my life. That's what makes it rich.
I love it so much. The minute that you said joy, the clock hit 5555.
Look at that, people. Come on. Come on.
What? The vibes are so
What's
high.
happening?
I can't take it. On New Year's Day. Let's go.
Can I have one more plug real quick? So if you
plug away.
If you liked this manifestation conversation, that sounded great, by the way. I'm having an event here at the studio and the Art B&B called Manifest Fest on 1/11. We have 2 different time slots. We're almost sold out of the first one, which is at 1 o'clock. It's from 1 to 4, and then we have one from 6 to 9. And I'm going to be sharing my manifestation journey, a lot of what I shared today, as well as more information. And we're going to help you start your manifestation process for the year, for just the month, for just that week, whatever feels like what you want to tackle. We're going to walk you through getting this conversation started for yourself and the work done. I'm partnering with my friend Karen Ald. She wrote the coloring book with me that we have, and she's going to be hosting this experience. And we are going to have stations in the studio then of different kinds of projects, ways you can physically start your manifestation. And your contribution by coming to that is going directly to the Art B&B. All the ticket funds from that is going to feed right into the Kickstarter. So you are going to be actively helping our manifestation make this thing happen by coming and helping yourself. I'm all about like connecting everyone to make all of the things happen and like work well together. And yeah, we have that in our website, on our workshops, on our Instagram. Everything's all the places. We'll give you the links, but come join us. It'll be a great time.
I love that so much. So wait, what day of the week is the 11th?
It's a Saturday. Yeah.
Sick.
I know.
That works out.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. 1/11.
And maybe you can get a little sneak peek tour of the Art B&B while you're there,
Yeah, exactly.
Lay of the land, figure out what bed you're going to rent for the next time you come up for your next retreat.
Yep.
Sam, you're a delight. Thank you so much. Thank you for being my friend. You've brought me so much joy over the last year. And every time you came to me with that manifesting energy for yourself and asking what I thought about it, I'll tell you what, it perked my ass right up and got me dreaming again for myself. And it was always in a moment where I didn't really have much to give. And you just brought so much excitement. And I just was so eager to help you and be in that conversation. And it meant a lot to me to be a part of it. And to now have it be almost ready to go is just such a crazy thing. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And I'm going to hug your ass in person this year. We're going to do it. It's going to happen.
Soon. We're going to do a retreat together. We have to figure out what it is.
I know.
It's going to be fun.
It's going to happen,
I can't
girl.
wait. Oh my God. All right. Everyone, Happy New Year. It's a few days after Happy New Year as you're listening to this. This is almost a week after New Year, but it's going to be a really amazing season. And please tune in to all of the links below for Sam. Sam is going to have a kick-ass year, and you're going to want to be a part of it.
Woohoo.
And we thank you so much for all of your time and love.
Love you, girl. Thanks.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.